If you want to save lives, then do so. If you want to build things, then do that. And if, like the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, your mission is to safeguard dignity in work, social protection, human capital development, and inclusive sustainable job creation, then work hard to get the job done. It's what the ministry did in 2019, a year of transforming and building a new Jamaica for all, parting its blinds and opening its windows to employment, social and economic inclusion for all, and improved access to education through a better path. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson, working to inform a generation and shaping perspective based on the reality of what our government is doing. So we bounded the magazine and wrapped to the covers, just for safekeeping. And now you get the chance to flip through the pages and see a commendable 2019 for the government. After we leave the walls of the ministry, there's some cleaning up work to do. That all begins now, so stay with us.
For over 40 years, the European Union and Jamaica have enjoyed a partnership built on shared values, trust and respect. Through a joint cooperation program, the EU is supporting Jamaica to achieve its development goals outlined in Vision 2030. Key areas of support include justice, financial reform, poverty reduction, health, human rights and democracy, environmental protection and agriculture, Jamaica and the European Union, promoting sustainable development and creating opportunities for all Jamaicans.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, January 22. Jamaica and the United States of America have recommitted to continued partnership in the areas of energy, security, trade, and investments. These were part of bilateral discussions held this morning between Prime Minister Andrew Holness and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Mr. Pompeo arrived on the island Tuesday night for a two-day working visit, which includes roundtable discussions with Caribbean officials. In a press conference this morning, Prime Minister Holness said the U.S. was a reliable and long-standing partner, adding that the cooperation would advance Jamaica's opportunity for economic growth.
I am pleased to say that we found common understanding on the urgent need to scale up our security cooperation. The main focus will be on bolstering Jamaica's capacity to counter transnational organized crime, secure our borders and ports, and interrupt the flow of illicit weapons into our country.
Meanwhile, Secretary of State Pompeo said the U.S. was always ready to assist with challenges being faced by Caribbean countries.
The United States has supported Caribbean nations with more than $600 million in much-needed funding for this fight over this past decade. Our expectation is those funds will augment homegrown efforts to protect all Caribbean peoples.
Recommendations for a new council to helm the Caribbean Maritime University will go before Cabinet on the 27th of January. Minister with Oversight for Education Carl Samuda made the disclosure during yesterday's sitting of the House of Representatives. The announcement follows the resignation of the former council members, which came on the heels of public reporting into an Auditor General's report on corruption allegations at the university. Minister Samuda says once Cabinet has approved the new council members, the body will hold its meeting the following week.
It is the intention of the Prime Minister to make a full statement on Friday outlining the government's strategy in relation to the future direction of the CMU. That is January the 24th.
In the meantime, Mr. Samuda says the Caribbean Maritime University is being managed smoothly. He asserts that, contrary to media reports, the institution is not facing any challenges in its day-to-day operations. Mr. Samuda assured parliamentarians on Tuesday that the Education Ministry had been closely monitoring CMU for the past 10 months. As a result, he says governance management has been strengthened.
A recent review indicated that since the introduction of these new systems, the university has been acting in compliance with the regulating guidelines. There have been significant improvements in the procurement activities, human resource practices, and the general administration of the university.
In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his administration will continue to dedicate a large portion of the country's budget to infrastructure development. This, he says, will be channeled through the Greater Infrastructure Development Project, GIDP. It's the successor agreement to 2 infrastructure projects financed by the Chinese government. Mr. Holness says those projects allow the country to expand its revenue capacity while reducing its debt to GDP ratio. According to the Prime Minister, the Greater Infrastructure Development Project will be looking to increase connectivity around the island. It involves expanding the north-south and east-west highways, as well as creating a new link between Kingston and Portland through St. Mary.
We're going to be building bypasses, extending our highways, widening other roads. So effectively what will happen is that you will have ease of travel in Jamaica.
The Prime Minister was engaged in a Caribbean leaders panel discussion on sustainability, resilience, growth, and the balance of the Sustainable Development Goals. The 4th Annual Caribbean Infrastructure Forum wrapped up today at the AC Marriott Hotel. The Little London Health Centre in Westmoreland has become the latest facility to be adopted under the Ministry of Health and Wellness's Adopt a Clinic initiative. The health centre has been adopted by the Caribbean Action Network Foundation initiative. Sandra Smith, a New York-based attorney and native of Westmoreland, is the founder.
I'm looking forward to working with the clinic and what the future holds. It's a 3-year commitment, could be 4, could be 5, let's see what happens. I'm also planning to encourage others like myself to adopt more clinics in Jamaica because we all want to give back, but now we have this initiative and we can in fact give back.
I want to really place on record my appreciation to Sandra for making this commitment through her association. And yes, it is a long word, the Caribbean Action Network Foundation initiative, because I believe it really is an indication of her vision, her leadership, and her spirit of giving back.
19 of the 100 health centers under the ministry's Adopt a Clinic program have benefited from $460 million in support. And finally, the National Dengue Eradication Campaign is to receive about 40 new vehicles in the coming week. The vehicles will be outfitted with fogging equipment and distributed across the country to kill and eliminate the insects. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the announcement at yesterday's JIS think tank session.
The largest expenditure that would have been applied to renewing the entire logistics fleet for vector management team. Right now we engage private contractors to support and complement what we have. We have taken the decision that the entire fleet needs renewal.
This is in conjunction with the 3-day National Dengue Cleanup that is scheduled for this weekend. With an approach similar to that undertaken on Labor Day, communities and institutions are being mobilized to eradicate the Aedes aegypti population and mosquito breeding sites. At the end of 2019, the country recorded nearly 10,000 suspected cases of dengue. There were approximately 17,000 hospitalizations and about 80 deaths from the virus over the past 2 years. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
This are the national cleanup crew. Come join the fight, stop mosquito from bite you. That mean we are go clean up school, workplace, home and community too.
Let us fight against dengue. Join the National Dengue Cleanup Crew as we search for and destroy mosquito breeding sites from January 24 to January 26, 2020.
Jamaica. This are the national cleanup crew. Come join the fight, stop mosquito from bite you.
Mosquitoes wanted dead, not alive. A message from the Ministries of Health and Wellness, Culture and Local Government.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security made efforts in 2019 to promote a stable industrial climate. Here's a recap of some of its major strides in the year.
Safeguarding dignity in work, social protection, human capital development, and inclusive sustainable job creation were key activities of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in 2019. The Labour portfolio opened the calendar year by securing employment in Canada for 296 farm workers. 100 more would find their way to the North American country under the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program. The ministry's Hanover Parish office was relocated to an upgraded facility at Bustamante Square in Lucy in February to increase access and service delivery. In 2019, efforts to modernize Jamaica's work permit framework continued.
This program aims to roll out a new client-focused, web-based work permit system that will be linked to the LMIS. It is envisioned that this system will, inter alia, provide a local skills bank vis-a-vis the importation of skilled workers.
A memorandum of understanding was signed in February with the Montego University College to coordinate the dissemination of labor market intelligence, increase career development, and populate a skills bank with certified persons. A MOU was also signed with the Montego Bay Community College aimed at bridging the skills gap between job seekers and employers. A new website and a mobile app were launched in April for the Labour Market Information System LMIS. On June 17, an enhanced website and mobile app were launched, enabling users more effective navigation of the website and ease of access to the services of the Labour Market Information System LMIS.
These initiatives seek to ensure that job seekers and employers will have the services of the ministry at their fingertips.
Still in June, the Child Labour Unit within the ministry launched a book on the Youth Decent Work Deficit. On September 12, the Minimum Wage Advisory Commission held the first of its consultations on the national minimum wage. In keeping with the ministry's mandate, a mega conference-like community engagement activity started a series of roadshows where 1,200 persons from the Western region benefited, and more than 30 employers conducted interviews with job applicants who registered through the Labour Market Information Systems portal. A second roadshow was held in October, and a third in Port Maria, St. Mary on November 27. On the social protection side, the Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH got an improved budget in 2019. The ministry also provided $569 million in back-to-school grants for children registered on PATH.
And we understand that if we want a better Jamaica, a better future for Jamaica, we must invest in our children. And that is why this is so important.
Her ministry also continued to advance the social and economic inclusion of persons with disabilities. Consultations were held on the Code of Practices for Employment, which were developed in accordance with the Disabilities Act and in preparation for its implementation. 80 children with disabilities received assistive aids such as wheelchairs, walkers, and hearing aids with the help of the World Bank and the Japanese Embassy. During Child Month, the Glen Hope Nursery and Place of Safety was supplied with safety items such as mosquito nets and toiletries. At the other end of the age spectrum, the ministry invited comments on the Green Paper for a new national policy for senior citizens. And the National Council for Senior Citizens partnered with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to launch a physical activity booklet for seniors. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security in 2019 safeguarded dignity in work, social protection, human capital development, and inclusive, sustainable job creation.
Ministry of Local Government have experienced a good year in 2019.
Let's get a little breeze on this land. All right. Now let's get some bounce in the rhythm. All right. Let's get some fire on our hearts. Now that is what we call all right. Run, come, get some Jamaica.
Government has undertaken a number of initiatives to minimize the outbreak of dengue across Jamaica. One is the 3 days of national cleanup activities planned for January 24 to 26. Watch this.
Hello and welcome to OPM Connect, the program that gives you an insight into government's policies, programs and plans. I'm Naomi Francis, the press secretary at the Office of the Prime Minister. Today we have a very, very important discussion to have on the matter of dengue eradication. We've had an extended flu period in Jamaica, and certainly our numbers in terms of those who've been infected by dengue have increased. We want to talk about how we can manage this problem, get it under control, and certainly eliminate, or can we even eradicate dengue from Jamaica. With us this afternoon, we have the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton. Thank you so much, Minister, for joining us today.
Thank you.
We also have Dr. Karen Webster-Carr, the Acting Chief Medical Officer, and we have Mr. Everton Baker, the Director of Environmental Health, all from the Ministry of Health. Thank you so much for joining us. Last week, we announced that the government will be dealing with a national cleanup day to deal with dengue. But let's go back a little bit to the genesis, because we've really had an extended flu period, and it's precipitated too with a number of dengue infections and, unfortunately, too, deaths. Tell us a little bit more, but give us an update, Minister, on where we are.
So it's important, firstly, and thanks for having us, to distinguish between the flu and dengue.
Yes.
And yes, we have had an extended period consisting almost all of last year, except for probably 1 or 2 months, where the numbers have been higher than normal in terms of persons contracting dengue, caused, of course, by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. And this we had warned of the year before, when all indications and communications coming out of the Pan American Health Organization, World Health Organization, suggested that for a number of reasons, including climatic conditions, we were going to have a more active season for the entire region. And that certainly manifested itself over the last year. The challenge is primarily how we control breeding sites in the first instance. And so one of the things that we try to do over the course of the year is just to provide public education and information through our 1,000 temporary vector workers by visiting homes, treating water that we identify as breeding sites or possible breeding sites. And of course, just trying to encourage Jamaicans to recognize that the first line of defense really rests with them, given that many of the breeding sites fall in and around the homes.
Yes.
Beyond that, it's the treatment at hospitals, and we've seen over 1,500, actually over 1,600 hospitalizations during the course of last year, and tragically, about 80 deaths. So it's been a very challenging year for us. The region is facing the challenge. We have, however, as a government, deployed as much resources as we thought necessary to deal with the challenge. I mean, never before have we seen so much spent on the dengue challenge. And we will continue to do so until we bring the situation under control.
But certainly what we've heard, especially reported by Minister, is that the different cohorts, I mean, you may be more susceptible based on the fact that you're a child or based on where you live, and how then we strategically moving to address those factors that would precipitate infection.
A person getting dengue can live anywhere, but our surrounding mosquito breeding increases our risk. There are some persons who, if they get dengue, can have a more severe outcome. And these include persons with chronic diseases, persons pregnant, the younger persons, the older persons. In this outbreak, we noted that the highest rate was among children, and deaths were among children. So they are at risk for complication. Most persons, we must say, will get better. Just rest, fluids will get better.
How long does it normally take, Doc, if you get dengue? What's the treatment period, and what would we normally look for?
So uncomplicated dengue within 4 days to 7 days will be fine. If you're complicated, then you may go on for longer. A week, 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks. Longer if you have severe complications from dengue. But we must emphasize that persons, what we call warning signs, this is signs that tell us maybe you're going into severe dengue. So dengue normally would have fever, muscle pain, joint pain, pains at the back of the eye are what we usually see for dengue, uncomplicated dengue. Warning signs include abdominal pain, severe abdominal pain,
Yes.
vomiting, drowsiness may be part of the complication. Bleeding, if you're bleeding, obviously there's an...
You run to the doctor. You don't say, oh, you run to the doctor when you see blood, right?
Correct.
Let me get to Mr. Baker because, I found it, I almost thought that we must have been living in the twilight zone when I heard the minister at one point say that some of the vector control workers were being stoned in communities in 2019, 2020. Is that still happening?
Yes.
Are you
the
serious?
recent case we had was January 4th in Portmore. And it's very unfortunate that these incidences are still happening. Because at one stage, one gentleman got a hit in the head. His skull was fractured.
Wow.
And he died long after. We are not saying it's associated with that.
Yes.
This particular incident, this hit in the head, but we know it could have contributed. So we are asking the public to just cooperate with us, knowing that we are doing something, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, by extension, the government of Jamaica, doing something for us to manage the dengue. And one of the strategies we use is applying the spatial fogging, the fogging.
Yes.
To combat the adult mosquito.
Already our friends on social media are asking questions, making comments. I have one from Michael on Facebook who says, if a specific community needs fogging, how and where can the request be made?
The local health department, we have 13 health departments in the island. They can just call the parish health department.
Okay, I have another one, Sasha Gay, and again, before I get back to some questions I have, says, we are aware that once we notice a sign or symptom of dengue, we should go to the hospital immediately. But what is being put in place at the hospitals to act immediately?
Some of the things that we have done on the curative side, we have extended opening hours in health centers. So we have about 20 health centers across the country, and that can be found on our website, or a call to the local health department. Opening until 8 p.m.
Yes.
So we now provide more outlets for persons to go. So you can see a doctor or a nurse. The accident and emergency, which unfortunately is normally overcrowded, but they have a triage system that assesses individuals early as they come in and then determine levels of urgency and then provide an appropriate level of support or advice as to what to do. We do also recommend that persons with their own private physicians, because health is both private and public.
Yes.
And where they have that opportunity, they should visit their private doctors also. So I would say your hospital, your health center, and we have allowed for extended hours in order to facilitate that.
Doc, I wanted to turn a little bit now, Dr. Tufton, that is, to the program that government has now rolled out in terms of ensuring that we have a full weekend of looking at how we go into communities and practically work with residents to eradicate the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
This Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's the 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Yes.
We have a 3-day program, and this is another good example, by the way, of joined up government.
Absolutely.
Because the
multi-agency, multi-ministry.
Coming out of the decision of cabinet has brought ministries of culture, Minister Grange, Minister Mackenzie in local government and community development, and of course health and wellness, where each of us will work together within our respective ministries and agencies to coordinate a national program. On the Friday, we're going to be visiting schools and workplaces across the country.
Yes.
And we're working with agencies, of course, like National Works Agency, SDC, and the others. We are, on Saturday, we'll be going to communities, just fanning out across the country to communities. And on Sunday, the 26th, it will be more home visits focused. And essentially, this coordination is done by the Labor Day Secretariat under Minister Grange's portfolio responsibility. The Prime Minister will be involved, so there are some national projects that will be identified. But working with the local municipalities across the country, the members of parliament, respective agencies, we expect, guided by the Ministry of Health in terms of where the vulnerable communities are, because we do have a mapping of the country. We're going to be spreading out to create the awareness, to get the solid waste, and essentially to educate, inform, and motivate community citizen action.
All right. Finally, just in terms of the weekend, if we could just reiterate, is there a schedule that persons can look forward to in terms of fogging and work, for the national effort to come through their areas, and where can they find that?
Right. So the schedule is going to be in the newspapers as per normal.
Yes.
And we are going to be blanketing some of those key areas that for example, the national site and the other sites, but it's an entire call into action for everybody.
Is there a website? Is it on the website? The
yes,
ministry website.
The ministry website.
Fantastic.
The schedule.
The schedule, yeah.
Indeed. All right, Minister, just your final word as we close.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for hosting us. Our health and wellness is really in our own hands. As it relates to this dengue challenge, we will overcome. And in fact, we are seeing some encouraging signs in the last month or two of a dip in the numbers. But, and we will continue to play our part. We just encourage our citizens to work with us in their own interests and protection. And I think if we do together, we can change the dynamics as it relates to the threat.
Minister, thank you so much. I fully agree. Once we work together, there's nothing we can't accomplish in this country. Thank you so much, Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, the Minister of Health and Wellness, along with Dr. Karen Webster-Carr, the Acting Chief Medical Officer, and Mr. Everton Baker. 38 years, is it, that you've been at the ministry?
Yes, I'm
wow.
going on.
That's a long time. Older than many of the people on the crew
looks
here.
like 38 years old.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Mr. Baker, Director of Environmental Health at the Ministry of Health. Thank you so much, viewers, for joining us today. And may I say Happy New Year. May 2020 bring you all the great things that you ever plan and imagine. I'm Naomi Francis. Join us next week for another interesting program on OPM Connect.
With government working to improve the labour and social security of Jamaican citizens, we too can give ourselves the added push to get up and get going. Here are some reasons working can be so important. To support yourself financially, having economic independence allows us to shape the life that we desire. To have a purpose, working can provide us with that avenue of feeling self-fulfilled or having a deeper meaning of life. Working can allow us to identify our strengths. In our jobs, we can get the opportunity to explore and develop our potential through our daily task or just interacting with people. And helps us build support. Through socialization at work, we can build contacts and find good and valuable support systems. These simple things come together to bring us contentment. If your current attitude towards work is more negative, here's a challenge: to start thinking of the benefits. This is how we can all help to make Jamaica the place of choice to not just live, raise our families, or do business, but ultimately to work. We're on the last page of this issue of the magazine, and naturally would like to say thank you for your eyes and ears. And as you wait for tomorrow's copy, visit the JIS website or YouTube channel, and also keep up with us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Twitter. On behalf of the entire production team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.